clean water fairly abundant in the United States, it's hard to imagine that very water making us sick. However, nearly 3.7 million people die each year from water-related diseases. These diseases include waterborne diseases, water-washed diseases, water contact diseases, as well as diseases associated with water habitat. These water-related diseases contribute highly to the global death rate. In 1993, the World Development Report began using a measurement of population health called the DALY, the Disability Adjusted Life Year. The DALY is a measure of a population's disease burden. This combines both years lost from premature death, or years of life lost, YLL, as well as disability impacted years, or YLD, years lived with disability. In the mathematical expression, DALY is equal to YLL plus YLD. One DALY can be thought of as 1 year lost from a healthy life. Though not perfect, this index can be used to measure various things. Globally, waterborne diseases compose a significant portion of DALY measurements and death. Illness from waterborne diseases primarily occurs with ingestion of the water. A majority of these diseases are transmitted by fecal to oral contamination, including things such as diarrhea, hepatitis A, and enteric fevers. Other non-fecal bacteria, such as Legionella, are transmitted in other ways, such as through aerosols. Diarrhea, a waterborne disease primarily affecting children and the elderly, has significantly contributed to death rates from waterborne diseases, with nearly 18 million deaths worldwide each year. In the World Health Organization assessment, diarrhea is responsible for over 4% of annual global DALY total. In some areas of Ghana, nearly 1/4 of children under 5 suffer from diarrhea. In conjunction with other infections and childhood diseases, diarrhea kills many across the globe each year, causing loose watery stools, dehydration, and lowered resistance to other infections. However, in the past few years, a decline in death rates in developing countries has been apparent and is mostly a result of oral rehydration therapy, or ORT, the oral ingestion of a solution of salts and sugars. However, the benefit has been mostly seen in affected adults. Diarrhea and the similar disease dysentery are caused by viruses, bacteria, and protozoa. Cholera, another waterborne disease leading to diarrhea, is transmitted from fecal to oral pathways and can cause severe dehydration, leading to death. A disease that has plagued humankind throughout history, especially where human excrement and drinking water have come into contact. Cholera is caused by the bacterium Vibrio cholerae. Cholera continues to be endemic in many areas of the globe. Cholera and the similarly transmitted rotavirus affects millions of children and adults worldwide each year, and over 100,000 deaths are caused annually by these waterborne illnesses. Though oral rehydration therapy has proved as a successful way to control diarrhea and dysentery, there are many ways to prevent these diseases in the first place. Oral rehydration therapy is as simple as sodium, glucose, and water solution, and helps accelerate fluid and electrolyte uptake by the small intestine. Aside from this remedy for some waterborne diseases, simple improvements to water quality, sanitation, the quantity and quality of water, and hygiene could significantly reduce the amount of cases and death that these diseases create each year. Open defecation is a continuing problem in many developing countries, and critical developments in the area of community-led total sanitation, or CLTS, has been the most effective approach to improve sanitation, with a direct impact on water quality and pathogenesis of waterborne disease. Additionally, broad education at all levels of a community regarding clean water sources and why not to use unclean sources of water is another effective strategy for water vector disease prevention. Some diseases can be limited through simple water hygiene. Water-based hygiene includes hand washing, domestic washing, bathing, and cleaning of cooking and eating utensils. Many enteric illnesses, diseases of the skin and eyes, and parasite infestations can be prevented through washing and enhanced personal hygiene. Trachoma, caused by the bacterium Chlamydia trachomitis, is a disease of the eye that impairs the vision of millions across the globe and causes blindness. The World Health Organization estimates that 6 million worldwide are blind due to trachoma, and more than 150 million people are in need of treatment. This disease is primarily transmitted through physical contact, poor hygiene, and through ocular and respiratory secretions. The disease can be easily transmitted through sharing of wash water or infected towels. Insects, such as houseflies, can feed on the infectious wound discharge of the eye and also transmit the disease. However, access to clean water and basic household hygiene can help prevent this disease. Once infected, washing and antibiotic therapy helps to control disease progression and transmission. Additionally, water sanitation and disinfection plays a key role in prevention. Increased clean water access helps to keep households cleaner and also provides alternate water sources for flies aside from the eyes of those already infected. Simple cleanliness of both the face and the environment help to prevent this disease. Some diseases can be spread simply through contact with unclean water. Schistosomiasis is caused by a worm larvae that invades the skin, and guinea worm are two parasitic infections transmitted through contact with water. Guinea worm is a condition caused by the dracunculiasis worm, and it is transmitted through the ingestion of its small host crustacean, the cyclops. Guinea worm affects many in parts of both Africa and Asia. This infection, transmitted through contact with water, causes arthritis of the joints and disables those with infections for weeks at a time. Female worms lie just beneath blisters on the skin, and extraction of the worm can be a weeks-long or months-long painful process that involves a slow physical wrapping of the emerging worm around a stick bound to the affected area. Guinea worm larvae are released when water hits the skin, allowing some to return to the cyclops and again contaminate the water. Ghana and Sudan suffer greatly from this disease. However, guinea worm eradication efforts, led by international aid agencies, have been highly successful in many areas. Guinea worm can be easily prevented. Aside from using safer water resources such as groundwater, water can be filtered using cloth or other filter treatment in order to remove the cyclops host. Larvicidal pesticide treatment of affected waters can kill the worms. Finally, effective treatment of those already infected and education can help interrupt the cycle of contamination and infection within a community. Water vector diseases are diseases spread by insects which breed or bite near water habitat. Such diseases are malaria and yellow fever, which are spread by mosquitoes, as well as sleeping sickness and river blindness, which are spread by flies. Malaria affects millions of people, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. According to the 2010 report of the World Health Organization, each year there are 2.25 million cases, killing over 750,000 people, mostly children. As malaria infects millions, many in dense malaria-carrying mosquito-infested areas develop immunity to the disease in their childhood years. However, this infectious process also helps produce an infant mortality rate of 10 to 20%. Aside from affecting the population, malaria also produces an impact economically. In malaria zones, the disease accounts for 40% of public health expenditures, 30 to 50% of inpatient hospital admissions, and 50% of outpatient admissions. In addition, there are many indirect costs associated with malaria, such as loss of workers, loss of unpaid workers, and in the case of fatality, the loss of future income. Malaria is spread by female mosquitoes and the specific genus Anopheles that carries the disease, and it's a potent malaria vector because of the population density of the insect and its frequent feeding behavior. There are 4 different types of malaria, some worse than others. Plasmodium falciparum causes the most deadly cases of malaria that are often fatal. Infecting the red blood cells, the parasites induce chills and a fever that recur in cycles. With malaria infecting immense numbers of people, many initiatives have been enacted in order to slow the spread of the disease. In addition to a prevention, therapeutic, intervention, and control campaign called Roll Back Malaria, co-sponsored by over 500 organizations worldwide, including the World Health Organization, UNICEF, the UN Development Program, and the World Bank, there are many medical interventions in use and development to help cure or control the disease. Chemotherapy, especially prophylaxis with antimalarials, home sprayed with insecticides, mosquito nets often sprayed with pyrethroids, and the elimination of breeding sites have proved successful in controlling malaria outbreaks. However, an increasing resistance to malaria medicines has been observed and has mobilized the need for new and advanced therapies. Malaria continues to be a major public health threat in many areas of sub-Saharan Africa, Asia, and the Americas. Much of the world suffers from the negative effects that unsafe drinking water produces. With a combination of waterborne diseases, water-washed diseases, water-based diseases, and water vector diseases, the public health risks associated with unclean drinking and wash water are varied and often life-threatening. Providing clean water to those who do not have it has been a major challenge throughout the past century. It is a challenge that will continue into our future, particularly as water becomes more scarce in some water-stressed areas due to climatic variation, including the impacts of climate change, regional or transboundary water disruptions, water wars, and drinking water supply contamination. New approaches to water supply management and education, sanitation, and waterborne disease prevention and management will advance as the successes of the recent past and present are effectively translated, modified, and implemented in all of the areas of great need. The loss of life and the loss of health due to water-related disease is preventable, and in that prevention, there is hope for many. Education and responsible community behaviors, such as total sanitation, will yield public health benefits while enhancing access to clean water. New science and appropriate technology to treat water will also advance safe drinking water. New strategies to combat and treat malaria are the focus of a significant ongoing research effort with integrated pest management and translational approaches to tropical medicine. In 2002, the United Nations Committee on Economic, Cultural, and Social Rights wrote, "Water is fundamental for life and health. The human right to water is indispensable for leading a healthy life in human dignity. It is a prerequisite to the realization of all other human rights."